She thought she had found her escape, leaving behind her husband to start fresh with a man young enough to be her son. At just 24 years old, Darius believed he was marrying a radiant beauty with no past, no baggage, and a future wide open. But within weeks, his dream unraveled into a nightmare. Because the woman he vowed to love wasn't who she claimed to be. She wasn't 29, she wasn't childless. She was 45 years old, hiding 10 children, and a history darker than he ever imagined. What Darius discovered didn't just break his heart, it cost him everything. Stay with me, because this is the story of how lies, love, and betrayal led to blood on the floor. Welcome to True Crimes Altar, where every sin is punished, every betrayal has a cost, and every soul must answer to the truth. Like, comment, and subscribe, because these are the stories the guilty prayed would stay buried. 2 weeks. That's all it would take to turn a fairy tale into a nightmare. What began as a love story wrapped in passion and second chances would unravel into secrets so deep they left a young man broken, betrayed, and staring down a future he never asked for. Darius King was only 24 years old, but already people said he carried himself like an old soul. Raised on the south side of Atlanta by his grandmother, he had learned early what it meant to hustle, to grind, and to want more than what the streets could offer. He worked long shifts at a car dealership by day and studied business management classes at night. His friends admired him. His sister Vanessa said he was the kind of man every woman wanted, but most weren't ready for. At 24, he dreamed of stability, of building something real, of finding a woman who could match his ambition and his heart. He thought he found her the day Elaine Porter walked into his life. To Darius, she was breathtaking. Smooth skin, a smile that could quiet the room, eyes that seemed to hold secrets but gave him only warmth. She said she was 29, single, and ready to settle down. He believed every word. What he didn't know was that Elaine had been rehearsing this role for years. She was not 29. She was 45. And while she charmed him over wine and laughter, 10 children she never mentioned were being raised miles away, each one a piece of a past she had buried. Elaine had left her husband, Otis, only weeks before meeting Darius. Their marriage had rotted long ago, but she never admitted to him or anyone that her exit was fueled not just by anger, but by desperation. She wanted to start over, to wear a mask of youth and freedom, to rewrite her story before the truth caught up. When she met Darius, she saw more than a man. She saw her chance. From the beginning, she studied him the way a gambler studies the table. She knew his ambitions, his kindness, his need to believe in love. She positioned herself perfectly, never letting the weight of her real age or the 10 children waiting on her calls bleed into the life she presented to him. For Darius, it felt like fate. The first date was at a rooftop lounge, the city lights painting the night as they laughed over shared plates and whispered promises. She looked radiant, her hair catching the glow, her laugh perfectly timed. Darius couldn't believe a woman like her was interested in him. For Elaine, the night was performance. Every tilt of her head, every playful story, every sigh of admiration was calculated. She never spoke of family, never mentioned Memphis, the home where her aunt still cared for her children. Instead, she painted herself as a woman untouched by hardship, free to fall in love. Weeks turned into months, and their bond deepened. Darius introduced her to his friends. Jamal, his best friend since childhood, didn't trust her from the start. He told Darius straight up, "Man, something about her don't sit right. You don't even know where she live. You ever been to her spot?" Darius brushed it off, blinded by infatuation. Vanessa, his sister, pressed him harder. "You need to slow down, little brother. Women like that, they don't just fall out the sky." But he didn't listen. Elaine kept her mask perfect. She never asked for money, never let him feel used. Instead, she gave him attention, warmth, and the illusion of honesty. That only made him fall deeper. What Darius couldn't see was how carefully she managed her double life. The kids stayed with her aunt, 10 mouths she visited quietly with grocery bags and excuses, promising them she was working towards something better. To them, she was mom. To Darius, she was a dream. He never saw the juggling act. He only saw the version of her she wanted him to see. By early summer, he was convinced she was the one. He told Jamal, "Bro, this is it." She's different. She don't care about the cars, the money, none of that. She care about me." Jamal shook his head, muttering, "Different don't mean good." But Darius was already gone. They started talking about marriage, about forever, about building a life with her. Elaine encouraged it, leaning in with soft touches and whispers like, "I can't wait to be your wife." She knew exactly what he wanted to hear. But in the shadows of her smile, secrets piled higher than he could imagine. A 45-year-old body hidden under careful makeup. 10 children calling her name in a house he'd never seen. A past so heavy it could crush him the moment it surfaced. And it would. Because no matter how smooth her lies, no matter how perfectly she played her part, truth has a way of clawing to the surface. And when it did, it would shatter not just the love he thought he found, but the very life he believed he was building. From the outside, they looked perfect. Every time Elaine stepped out with Darius, people noticed. Heads turned in restaurants. Whispers followed them down hotel lobbies. She looked young, radiant, like a woman in her late 20s who had the world at her feet. He was tall, athletic, clean-cut, carrying himself with the confidence of a man who knew where he was going. To strangers, they were a match made in heaven. But the truth was buried just beneath the surface, waiting for the wrong moment to rise. On their fourth date, Darius suggested meeting at her place. He wanted to pick her up, maybe cook for her, maybe see where she came from. She froze for a second before masking it with a laugh. "My neighborhood ain't the kind of place I want you driving through," she said, brushing his arm. "Trust me, you don't want to see that." He believed her. He wanted to protect her, to be the man who pulled her out of whatever struggle she hinted at. She used that instinct masterfully. Instead of ever letting him close to her real life, she built moments that kept him distracted. One night, she showed up at his condo with a bag of takeout and a bottle of wine. Her eyes sparkling as she said, "I just wanted to surprise you." They sat on the couch eating wings and laughing over old music videos on TV. In those moments, she felt like a dream, spontaneous, effortless, free. Darius thought, "This is the one. This is love." Delane thought, "This is control." But cracks were forming, even if Darius didn't see them. One afternoon, Jamal pulled up on him outside the dealership. "Bro, let me ask you straight. You ever been to her house? Met her people? Anything?" Darius frowned, annoyed. "Man, why you always got something to say? She different. She don't move like these other women." Jamal leaned against his car, shaking his head. "That's the problem. She too different. It's like she popped out of nowhere. Don't nothing about that sound right." That night, he asked her again about her family. They were lying in bed, her head on his chest. He ran his fingers through her hair and said softly, "When you gonna let me meet your people? I want to know where you're from." Elaine shifted, her body tensing before she forced a playful smile. "One day, baby. But right now, it's just us. Ain't that enough?" She kissed his chest and silenced him before he could push further. He let it go, but a part of him felt uneasy. What he couldn't see was that in another city, 10 children were eating dinner around a table in her aunt's house, waiting on calls that came fewer and fewer as she invested more time into Darius. The oldest, Marcus Jr., told his siblings, "She gone. Y'all might as well get used to Andy raising us." Chantel, the second oldest, defended her. "Mama just trying to get it right this time. She'll come back for us." But even as they argued, they knew the truth. Elaine had been chasing new beginnings for years, and every time she ran, they were left behind. Darius didn't know this. All he saw was a woman who seemed to want him more than anything. One weekend, they drove down to Savannah. Elaine leaned out the passenger window, laughing as the wind caught her hair, snapping selfies with captions like "Young Love." Darius sang along to old songs on the radio, stealing glances at her and thinking, "This is my wife." He had no idea that her phone, clutched tight in her hand, held another life. A Facebook account under her real name, filled with photos of birthdays, graduations, and 10 children calling her mom. She kept that profile hidden, using only her polished Instagram for him, where no trace of her real age or family existed. By fall, Darius was talking about marriage openly. I want forever with you, he told her one night at a restaurant, holding her hand across the table. Her eyes softened, and for a moment, guilt flickered behind them. Then she blinked, smiled, and whispered, "Forever sounds perfect." She didn't mean it. Not in the way he thought. She wanted security, escape, and a man young enough to believe she was everything she pretended to be. The more she pushed for closeness, the more her lies stacked against her. And though Darius couldn't see it yet, the people closest to him were already watching carefully. Vanessa pulled him aside after dinner one evening. "You don't know this woman, Darius. She dodges every question about her past. You think that's normal? You better be careful, because I don't want to see you hurt." He brushed her off, but the seed of doubt was planted. Elaine saw the tension and doubled down, showering him with affection, keeping him distracted. She whispered, "Don't listen to nobody. They don't know what we got." And he believed her. But the truth was moving closer, step by step, waiting for its moment. Because no matter how carefully she built her mask, all it would take was one slip, one old friend recognizing her face, one careless photo surfacing for the entire illusion to crumble. And when that happened, the dream Darius thought he was living would twist into a nightmare darker than anything he could imagine. By winter, Darius was all in. He talked about her like she was already family. At the dealership, coworkers teased him, saying, "Man, you smiling too hard these days. That girl must be special." He laughed it off, but in his heart, he believed it. He believed he had finally found the kind of love his grandmother used to pray over him for. Elaine played her part flawlessly. She made him feel chosen, like out of all the women she could have had, she wanted only him. But the truth she hid behind her smile was starting to slip in tiny, dangerous ways. One Saturday afternoon, Vanessa showed up at his condo unannounced. Elaine was there, sitting cross-legged on the couch, scrolling through her phone. Vanessa's eyes narrowed instantly. "You never home when I come by, Darius," she said, side-eyeing Elaine. "Funny how you here today." Elaine smiled politely, putting her phone face down on the table. "Nice to finally meet you," she said smoothly. But Vanessa wasn't impressed. "Where are you from again?" she asked, her tone sharp. Elaine didn't blink. "North Carolina? Charlotte." It rolled off her tongue like she had practiced it 100 times. Darius smiled, trying to ease the tension. "Nessa, chill. Why are you grilling her like she on trial?" Vanessa leaned back, folding her arms. "Because I can't shake the feeling she's hiding something. Y'all moving fast, and I don't like it." Elaine's smile never wavered, but her jaw tightened. Later that night, when Vanessa left, Elaine turned to Darius, her voice soft but sharp enough to cut. "Your sister don't like me. She looking for problems." Darius kissed her cheek, whispering, "She just protective, baby. She'll come around." But Elaine knew better. She knew women like Vanessa could smell lies in the air. She made a mental note to keep her distance. Across town, in Memphis, her aunt was growing tired. Raising 10 children that weren't hers weighed heavy. She called Elaine late one night, her voice stern. "These kids need their mama. You can't just be out there living like you're 20 again." Elaine sat on the edge of Darius's bed, her voice low. "I'm working on something. Just hold it down for me a little longer." Her aunt scoffed. "I've been holding it down for years. You think these kids don't notice? Marcus look at me every day like I'm the reason you gone. They starting to hate you, Elaine." Elaine closed her eyes, gripping the phone tighter. "Just keep them together. I'll send money next week." She hung up before hearing more. Darius walked in, catching her wiping her eyes quickly. "Everything good?" he asked. Elaine forced a smile. "Yeah, just stress from work." He hugged her, never suspecting the truth. But not everyone was blind. Jamal was digging. One night he pulled Darius aside after a basketball game at the rec center. Sweat dripping, voices echoing, Jamal looked him dead in the eyes. "I asked around, bro, ain't nobody know this girl. Not at school, not in the city. It's like she popped up out of nowhere." Darius frowned, irritated. "Why you wasting time investigating her? You jealous?" Jamal shook his head. I'm your brother. I'd rather you hate me now than regret it later. Just be careful. Darius brushed it off, but the words burned in the back of his mind. Elaine sensed his unease and pulled him in closer than ever. One evening, she wore a fitted red dress, cooked him dinner by candlelight, and between sips of wine whispered, "You ever think about marrying me?" His heart nearly stopped. All the time, he confessed, his smile wide. She leaned in, her lips brushing his ear. Then let's not waste time. He thought it was love speaking. She knew it was strategy. Within weeks, she was already showing him wedding venues on her phone, pressing for dates, telling him, when you know, you know. Vanessa grew furious when she heard. You gonna marry a woman you never seen at her own house? You don't know nothing about her family. You don't know nothing, Darius. He snapped back. I know enough. I know she loved me. Vanessa shook her head, tears stinging her eyes. You too smart to be this blind. But Elaine had him under her spell. The lie was too beautiful, too complete. He ignored every red flag, every warning. He chose love, or at least the illusion of it. And with every step closer to the altar, Elaine smiled wider, even as the weight of her hidden life pressed harder against the walls she built. Because secrets never stay buried. And the bigger the lie, the louder the truth claws its way to the surface. The wedding was small but elegant, held in a banquet hall draped in white roses and soft golden lights. Darius stood at the altar, his heart pounding as Elaine walked down the aisle in a fitted white gown that clung to her like it was made for her alone. Guests whispered about how perfect they looked together, how young love had found its match. He thought he was walking into forever. She thought she had secured her way out. By the time the vows were spoken and rings exchanged, Darius was smiling like the happiest man alive. Elaine kissed him with tears in her eyes, but they weren't tears of love. They were the tears of a woman who knew she had pulled off her greatest performance yet. For 2 weeks, married life felt like a dream. Darius woke to her in his condo, cooked breakfast with her, planned their future out loud while she nodded and smiled. But every time he mentioned children of their own, she dodged the topic, kissing him to silence his words. On the 13th day, the illusion cracked. It happened at the barber shop. An old acquaintance from Memphis walked in, recognized Elaine's face on Darius's phone background, and laughed. Bruh, you married to her? You know she got 10 kids, right? The room went silent. Darius froze in the chair, his reflection staring back at him in disbelief. He asked again, his voice sharp. What you say? The man pulled up Facebook, scrolling to photos of Elaine surrounded by children of every age. 10 kids. The caption, family first always.
If you're enjoying this video, kindly do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. Share and like this video. It's free and won't cost anything, but it helps and encourages us to grow and do more. Thank you for your kindness, and back to the video.
Darius couldn't breathe. His chest tightened. His hands shook. He left the shop without finishing his haircut, drove in silence, rage and confusion clashing in his head. At home, Elaine greeted him with a smile, reaching for him like nothing was wrong. He dropped the phone in front of her. The photo lit up on the screen. Who are they? His voice trembled, low but dangerous. Elaine glanced, her face paling before she let out a nervous laugh. People lie on Facebook all the time. Don't believe that. He slammed his hand against the table, making her flinch. Stop lying to me. I know the truth. You're not 29. You're 45. You got 10 kids. 10. You made me stand in front of God and promise forever to somebody who don't even exist. Her mask slipped. Anger twisted across her face, her voice rising. You think you better than me? You don't know what it's like to raise kids by yourself, to be left over and over. You think it's easy being me? She shoved him in the chest, her finger jabbing at him with every word. You wanted a trophy wife, Darius, and that's exactly what you got. Don't act like you some victim. You wanted the fantasy. I just played the part. His breathing grew heavier, his fists clenching. You tricked me. You stole my life. Tears stung his eyes, his body trembling with rage and heartbreak colliding. Elaine's chest heaved, her words cutting deeper. You let yourself get played. You ain't no victim. You just stupid enough to believe it. Then her palm cracked across his face. The slap echoed in the room, sharp and violent. For a heartbeat, the world froze. His jaw stung, his vision blurred. She glared at him, daring him. What? You gonna hit me back? Do it. Show me who you really are. And something inside him snapped. He didn't think. He didn't plan. His hand shook as adrenaline surged, and with one furious push, he shoved her shoulders. Elaine stumbled back, her heel catching on the rug. Her arms flailed as she tried to steady herself, but her balance was gone. Her head struck the edge of the cabinet with a sickening thud. The sound was heavy, final. She crumpled to the floor, her body twisted, eyes open but vacant. Blood seeped slowly into the rug beneath her head. Darius's chest pounded, his breath ragged. Elaine, get up. His voice broke, tears burning his eyes. Please. Baby, get up. But she didn't move. He rocked back, his hands clutching his head as the weight of what he had done crashed down on him. One slap, one shove, 1 second of rage had ended it all. His phone slipped from his trembling hands as he dialed 911, his voice frantic and broken. Please, I didn't mean it. She came at me. I pushed her. Please, send somebody. The dispatcher stayed calm, asking if she was breathing. Darius's eyes dropped to her still body. No. She's gone. Oh God, she's gone. Minutes later, sirens wailed outside, red and blue lights flashing against the walls of his condo. Officers burst in, weapons drawn, ordering him to step back. He raised his shaking hands, tears streaming. It was an accident. Please, I didn't mean to do it. They checked her pulse, shined lights into her vacant eyes, then shook their heads. She was gone. The wedding photos still sat on the mantel. The rings still gleamed on their fingers. But the marriage had lasted just 2 weeks before collapsing into blood and silence. The sirens faded, but the weight remained. Darius sat in the back of the squad car, his wrists cuffed, his eyes swollen with tears. He whispered over and over, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. The officer in the front seat didn't respond. To them, it wasn't about intentions. It was about outcome. Inside his condo, yellow tape stretched across the doorway, cameras flashed as crime scene techs bagged evidence. The wedding rings, the blood-stained rug, the folder of documents that told the truth about Elaine's hidden life. What had started as love was now just another case number. At the station, Detective Harris sat across from him in a gray-walled room, a recorder on the table. Tell me what happened, the detective said calmly. Darius wiped his face, his voice shaking. She lied to me. She wasn't who she said she was. I found out she had 10 kids. I confronted her. She hit me. I just pushed her. I didn't mean to. He broke down, sobbing. Harris scribbled notes, his expression unreadable. So you admit you pushed her? Darius nodded desperately. She slapped me first. I swear I didn't want to hurt her. Harris leaned back, his voice low. Son, you need to understand. Whether you meant it or not, she's gone. And that's on you. Word spread fast. By the next morning, headlines blared across local news. Atlanta man charged after wife's death just 2 weeks into marriage. Elaine's family arrived from Memphis, their grief tangled with anger. Her oldest son, Marcus Jr., slammed his fist into a courthouse bench during the arraignment, shouting, "He killed my mama!" The judge banged the gavel for order as deputies restrained him. Darius stood silent in shackles, his head bowed, his own family watching in shock from the other side of the courtroom. His grandmother wept quietly, whispering, "Lord, have mercy." Vanessa refused to cry. She sat stiff, her arms crossed, her face carved with fury. I told him, she muttered. Jamal shook his head beside her. This ain't how it was supposed to go. As weeks turned into months, the case crawled through hearings and motions. The prosecution painted him as a man whose pride snapped when he discovered the truth. He couldn't handle the lies, the prosecutor told the press, so he ended her life. The defense told a different story. They called it deception, manipulation, provocation. This wasn't murder, his attorney argued. This was a young man pushed past his breaking point by a woman who deceived him from the very start. Elaine's double life became the center of the trial. The jury was shown side-by-side images, Elaine on Instagram, flawless, filters erasing the years, captions dripping with romance. Then Elaine on Facebook, surrounded by 10 children, tagged as mom, her real age exposed in public records. The prosecution pushed back hard. Plenty of people lie in relationships, they told the jury. But lies don't justify violence. Deception is not a death sentence. Witnesses testified. Jamal told the story of warning his best friend again and again. Vanessa testified too, her voice breaking as she said, "I knew she was hiding something, but I never thought it would come to this." The private investigator laid out the truth: birth certificate, school records, child support filings, police reports. Piece by piece, the image of Elaine's real life unfolded. But the prosecutor returned to one point again and again: she didn't deserve to die. Darius sat at the defense table, his hands clenched, his eyes fixed on the floor. The weight of his choice crushed him daily. He had lost more than freedom. He had lost himself. Every time Elaine's children sat in the gallery, staring at him with burning eyes, he felt the verdict pressing closer. He thought about their faces, about their grief, about the woman who had lied to him, yes, but who had also been a mother to 10 children who would never see her again. The trial was not just about evidence. It was about emotion, betrayal, and the thin line between love and destruction. And as closing arguments drew near, everyone in that courtroom knew one truth: no matter what the jury decided, nobody was walking out whole. The jury filed back into the courtroom, their faces heavy with the weight of the decision. Darius sat still, his hands folded, his chest tight, his grandmother whispering a prayer under her breath from the back row. The foreman stood, the paper trembling slightly in his hand. "We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of manslaughter." Gasps rippled through the room. Elaine's children clutched one another, tears spilling down their faces. Vanessa closed her eyes, the tears she had been holding back finally breaking loose. Jamal muttered, "Damn, bro," shaking his head, the grief etched across his face. The judge's voice followed, sharp and final. "Darius King, you are hereby sentenced to 15 years in state prison with the possibility of parole after 12. The words struck like iron. Darius lowered his head, tears streaking down his face as deputies moved in to cuff him. The cold steel of the shackles bit into his wrists, a cruel reminder of how far he had fallen. His empire of dreams, the love he thought he had, the future he built in his mind, all gone in a single shove born of rage and heartbreak. Elaine's family left with nothing but grief, 10 children robbed of their mother. Darius's family left with nothing but shame, a son and brother swallowed by a system they could no longer protect him from. The trial was over, but the echoes of the lie remained. Elaine had lied about her age, about her life, about her children. She had spun a web so tight it trapped them both. But in the end, deception doesn't excuse destruction. Love twisted by lies becomes a poison, and when the truth finally surfaces, it destroys more than just trust. It destroys lives. And that's what this story is. A man who thought he found forever and a woman who thought she could outrun her past, both dragged down by secrets that refused to stay buried. Darius lost his freedom. Elaine lost her life. 10 children lost the only mother they ever had. And the question that lingers is simple: was this justice or just another tragedy where everybody lost? Tell me, what do you think? Was this sentence fair? Was Darius a victim of betrayal or a man who couldn't control his rage? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I read every single one of them. Don't forget to subscribe to True Crimes Altar so you never miss a story this shocking. And let us know where in the world you're watching from because your voice matters here. And remember, What you don't know about the people closest to you might be the very thing that destroys you.